Morning, everyone. Welcome to the Contemporary Issues Sunday School class. We are pleased today to have our friend Ron Puning again schooling us on one of the topics of the day. Today on space warfare and lasers in space and the Golden Dome. Remember how Israel has a Golden Dome, but America doesn't really have one, do we?
Nope, a
Not
little
yet.
bit, pieces here and there.
Pieces here and there.
University.
There's a Golden Dome open up and University. They're in different places. Okay.
There's
There
golden
is-
arches.
Golden arches, that's not the same as a golden. As we get started here today, there is a microphone in the back. If one of you folks in the back there would grab that little black microphone, and I think it's on already, and when folks want to speak, please pass it around. Before we get started, our usual announcement, Zoomers, nice to have you here today. Welcome. Please mute yourself in the lower left corner of your screen when you're not speaking. And we are recording this for future playback on YouTube. And other announcements. We have our annual meeting, business meeting today in the church about the state of the church. We'll find out what the goals are, and budget and those things.
How
So
about
that's
hold
good.
the date? in
Hold the
December?
date in December for our Sunday school Christmas party, December 9th, Tuesday, December 9th. Come join us for dinner and trivia and fun time. Maybe Steve will even play the keyboard again this year.
Yes. Please.
And Tuesday is a good webinar with Rev Mark, if you've not signed up already for it. The politics of compassion. So once again, he'll be speaking about current political situation. And good story in the Wall Street Journal today about a Christian pastor who believes in we should return to the old days, take away women's right to vote, and bar non-Christians from holding office. So his Christian nationalist pastors, admirers are our Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, and TV commentators like Tucker Carlson are advocating for this gentleman. So lots of good stories in the Wall Street Journal today, if you ever want to pick it up.
Have a burning of that paper?
No, that's my copy. You can't burn that article. Find your own article to burn.
He says that
I don't know where.
men are the head of the household, so there should only be one vote per family.
That's the way it is.
One vote per family.
Exactly.
So lots of things going on in America. With that, any other things to announce? Anyone like to share? Want to welcome back our Professor Peter Arsdale from traveling in Europe, where he had a wonderful time, except he caught COVID and pneumonia. And is recovering from pneumonia especially.
Oh.
So the dangers of traveling sometimes catch up with us.
Thank you, Steve.
You bet.
That reminds
Yes,
me,
Bill.
I got my back.
Loud, please, Bill.
I would, microphone's right here.
I would not have brought this up except you mentioned the Wall Street Journal story. I happened to come across, it's in Newsweek this week, just a couple of days ago.
Talk into it.
Use the mic.
More?
Loud.
Okay, thank you. I just came across the story. It was a young woman, and I'm not trying to make this a focus of our discussion, but somebody sent it to me. She was a member of the Turning Point organization since she was 17. Now she's 28. And, she expressed her sympathy and her sadness for Kurt, who had been killed. But she said she had left the organization because she was being taught that Democrats are evil. You cannot be a Christian and be a Democrat. And a lot of stuff like that. And I'm sorry, I probably shouldn't have said anything.
That's okay.
But she said she knows a lot of people that have left the organization because of those kind of messages. And basically she was just saying she wasn't skewing to one side or the other. She's now progressive, but she said that she basically was hewing to a kind of a middle road, like don't. And I love Mark's sermon. I thought he did that too. Don't demonize the other side. But it was interesting to hear what she had said after 8 years in the organization.
Thank you, Bill. We'll look for that article. Yeah, the mixed messages out there today. God and Jesus are great and follow them, and then the dark side of things folks can say at the same time. It's very disturbing. Okay, Ron, with that cheery note, thank you for presenting today.
All righty. I think we've got some interesting things to look at. First of all, I want to mention that I passed around a few cartoons, and there's even one up on our, we can put that slide up. Kind of joking around with nuclear weapon severity and stuff like that. I want you to know I put these up as just something to relieve the tension. Because if you really look at the horrors of nuclear weapons, it's nothing to laugh about. It's potentially, let's just a little closer. It's something that can, sorry, I think I pushed the button. No, it's okay. 1, 2. Oh, I pushed the mute. Yeah. 1, 2, 3,
The escalator,
4,
the escalator stopped.
1, 2, 3. Okay. Hang on a second. I've been holding the volume down. At any rate, I want you to know that I take it seriously, and I put a few cartoons around to relieve the tension. Because if we really thought on it in fullness, it would scare the bejesus out of you, to put it bluntly. And we'll mention that in a few of our slides.
There you go, Ron.
Yeah, okay. James Comey has hit the
Yeah, don't break that one.
this week has hit the newsreel again. He does have his very first book, A Higher Loyalty, which I've read and underlined, is quite super. And I'll pass it around just as it's going in and out. So
The name of
A Higher Loyalty. I'll pass it around just to look at. I think if you read the book, the essence of it is that he was brought into the president's presence many times and told his loyalty, his full loyalty was expected. He retorted with, "I will give you honesty and truth," but he refused to promise blind loyalty. So I'll pass that book around. Okay, jumping on to our key resources for today. A very bestseller was by Annie Jacobson, Nuclear War. And it's worth reading. It starts with how a nuclear war might get started and how fast it would progress and what likely would happen. And it's not a happy story. But it's,
Is it fiction?
no, it's not
No,
fiction.
not.
It's,
Is it a?
it's a, well, it's a story of how it could happen.
Okay.
And what would be the most likely progress and timetable of the events. So I'll pass this around as well. A good book worth reading. There's a lot of stuff on the internet. You've heard about, I don't know, the Golden Dome, which is a proposed complete net over the United States and a few territories to, quote, completely protect us from nuclear attacks and deadly threats. And there's RFPs going out right now, getting responded to by the defense companies. Trump has advanced a request for proposals to develop a Golden Dome. And we'll be talking about that. But you can look out Golden Dome on the internet and find quite a bit posted. Also look under SDI based defense, and you can find some really good materials on Star Wars like stuff that's going on. Here's one of the better books on, some Star Wars weapon. War at the Speed of Light. So this thing is going in and out, sounds like,
Yeah,
for
sorry.
whatever reason.
I'm not sure what's happening.
Wow.
Okay, alrighty, some things worth reading. I think maybe the best movie is a Gregory Peck and Ava Gardner movie. It was done at least 40, 50 years ago, On the Beach. And it's a story of some guys on a US nuclear submarine, and a nuclear war has started, and they're trying to figure out how to extend their life and survive for another 60, 90 days and what to do. It's a very
Sobering.
sobering, and it's kind of, it's pure fiction, but it's pretty factual in terms of what might happen and the effects of a nuclear war. Going around are some sheets showing the likely nuclear targets in the United States. Keep passing those around. You can see if you're on the target zone, but the answer is there's not many safe places. So let's get into the next slide. Yeah, next slide. Again, those are some of the resources.
I'm gonna take it back.
The book on the right, the 300 is worth reading. That's an actual system that has been put in Alaska and a couple other places to shoot down a nuclear missile, particularly one that might be fired from North Korea.
Testing
So this is a real system that's in place and does have capability to shoot down an ICBM, at least a few that are fired from maybe a rogue country. Does not have the capability to take out a massive attack, a whole array of missiles being fired simultaneously, but it could probably get a few rogue ones fired perhaps by North Korea. So it's an interesting book. Next. Okay, the nuclear nations. We, of course, the United States, were the first country to get nuclear weapon capability, but it was a close race. If you read all the history, Einstein sent a letter to Franklin D. Roosevelt saying, in about 1939-ish, saying, you better get on the stick. Germany's got quite a bit of work being done, and they probably have the lead in terms of the technical and academic capabilities to get to the bomb. Einstein made the letter as firm as he could, saying, get with it. You got to beat them to that finish line. And some great books on the development of the weapon. Here is also a copy, I'll pass this around, of the order that was given to drop the first bomb on Japan. Don't crumple this up. I've only got one Xerox copy of it, but it's interesting to see where the order came from and what was in the order. It didn't say give them hell, but in polite words, it was the order to release the bomb.
Ron, for those who
Yeah.
can't read off of the screen, would you list off those countries?
Yeah, this is a bar graph showing the countries that have the bomb and the approximate quantities of bombs. Of course, bombs come in many different sizes. We can see Russia has the most, 54-49. We're in close competition with them with 52-77. So the US and Russia are the two leaders. China's coming on fast. They're up to an estimated 600, but their rate of change, their acceleration of putting in ICBM silos and stuff is growing quickly. So they're moving toward the front. France has almost 300. Britain, 225. India and Pakistan, 180 and 170. And there is concern, some people write and some fictional books, what if India starts fighting Pakistan and they have a nuclear exchange? And we'll mention that a little later. Israel has been mum on what they have, but almost all intelligence sources say they probably got about 90 nuclear warheads. And then North Korea, unfortunately, is probably up to as many as 50. That's the good. There's also some nations that are hosting nuclear weapons. Like there are nuclear weapons in Italy, Turkey, Belgium, Germany, Netherlands, and Belarus.
So do those come in from these other countries that are?
They've been supplied, yeah, either, for example, Belarus, just in the last couple weeks, Putin has moved a couple more nuclear weapons under the control of some Russian soldiers stationed in Belarus, which of course is bordering on both Ukraine and Poland.
The date of that slide.
The date of that slide, it's maybe a couple years old at most. And of course, some of the data is estimates. Israel has not come out and posted on a bulletin board exactly what they have, but the intelligence sources know pretty well who's got what. Next one. Okay, nuclear bombs. Again, they vary tremendously in capability. The two bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki were in the kilo. Kilo means 1,000, 15 kiloton yield and 20 kiloton yield. Those are considered in today's world fairly small yield nuclear weapons, but there are pictures going around showing the effects. The nuclear weapons they have go as low as 10 tons. That's the W-54 in the US arsenal, up to 50 megatons. I think the Russians have the record for the biggest nuclear warhead. I don't think that they could deliver it, but it said if they dropped it in the center of Texas, it would wipe out everything for 250 miles radius in every direction. So they can range anywhere from 10 tons up to 50 megatons. A bomb about 600 pounds in weight can deliver 1.2 megatons. That's an order of magnitude more than what was dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Apart from the blast, the effects of the nuclear weapons, of course, are the extreme heat, ionizing radiation, firestorms, nuclear fallout, and electromagnetic pulse, which we'll mention. They found out during one of the tests in the Pacific, and an island that kind of got blown up, that an airborne weapon blown up over the island sent out an electromagnetic pulse that actually disrupted a lot of electronic things in Hawaii, more than 1,000 miles away. So that's one of the dangers of a nuclear weapon that a lot of people overlook. Maybe the best book, and this book, to get one in good condition, now they're selling for $200, $300 on the internet. I happened to buy this at the, of all places, the Wright-Patterson Air Force bookstore 40 years ago, and it's turned out to be a classic in terms of depth of information, accuracy of information, and compilation. It's got some fabulous color pictures, if you can use the word fabulous to describe nuclear weapons.
The name of the book, Ron?
U.S. Nuclear Weapons by Chuck Hansen. Okay, next one. I'm going to reach back real quickly into history. We think of the horror and the potential horror of nuclear weapons, what they have done at Nagasaki, Hiroshima, and some of the horrors of human history. One of the worst horrors in early human history was Genghis Khan. In fact, his Mongol armies went out and they estimate they killed 40 to 60 million people in that BC time era. And they probably wiped out, they estimate about 11% of the world's population. So that's a horror. They went into the siege of Baghdad, and estimates are they killed almost 1 million people in Baghdad and stacked their skulls at the gates of the city. So All I'm trying to say is human history is replete with, unfortunately, too many examples of really, really horrible things. And we say nothing's compared to a nuclear weapon drop. Yeah, this guy was worse than a nuclear weapon drop there on Baghdad. They think in one province, they think they massacred 3 million women and children by the Mongol invaders. And we know today from genetics that about 1 in 200 people in the world can be traced to the genetic heritage to Genghis Khan himself. Apparently, he was having women brought into his presence, I don't know, 3 or 4 a day for the entirety of his life. And he spawned so many children that he could be, again, half of 1% of the men in the world carry a Y chromosome that can be traced back to Khan. So, okay. All right. Okay, so there's a horror that happened before the arrival of Christ in terms of millions of people getting killed. Yeah. Here's a message that was found carved by a Jewish prisoner at a concentration camp. And he carved on the wall, if there is a God, he will have to beg my forgiveness. So here was a guy in a Jewish concentration camp, one of over 6 million killed in just the concentration camps. And it certainly caused this person to question, when is Christ going to return? And when is God going to intervene? You got to certainly ask yourself, gee, why didn't he stop Genghis Khan? And gee, if he was going to return, 1940 would have been a good time. So next one. Okay. We of course know about Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Those weren't the 2 worst nights of World War II horror. The worst night by far was March 9th and 10th, over that night in Tokyo. There was a B-29 firebombing raid. Almost 300 B-29s dropped firebombs on Tokyo, and they estimate that more than 90,000 and possibly 100,000 Japanese died in that one night, and about 1 million were left homeless. So that's kind of a follow-on to last week's lesson, the horror of dropping the bomb. They think that was the most destructive single air attack in human history. Talking to my father, who was in the Merchant Marine and had a lot of stories, he said he was on a freighter that was taking firebombs out to the Pacific Islands. So he may well have helped deliver some of those bombs to the deep.
Fireball, I don't understand.
In a nutshell, a firebomb typically has magnesium and other things in it, so that when you drop it and ignite it, it will easily combust and start any kind of wood or flammable material. And it's darn near impossible to put the darn stuff out. If it lands on your roof and starts the asphalt on fire, you can spray the asphalt, but the doggone magnesium and mixture is really hard to put out. So they drop
Lithium batteries.
yeah, so they dropped thousands of these on Tokyo, and Tokyo had tens of thousands of structures. In fact, by far the majority of the structures that were wood and combustibles. There wasn't much concrete, brick, stucco, etc., that could resist fire. So that was the worst disaster. So it was not a nuclear one. There's pictures going around. There's the center zone of Hiroshima. And this was a picture taken not decades, but tens of miles away from Nagasaki. And that's the mushroom cloud coming up from Nagasaki far in the distance.
Ron,
So it certainly expresses the horror of a nuclear weapon.
my father, 10 days after the Nagasaki bomb, commandeered a bomber. He was a pilot in that area, commandeered a bomber and flew over the Nagasaki site 10 days after the bomb to see what it looked like. It was devastating, of course. He never forgot it. It was the worst moment of my father's life, looking down and seeing the destruction. He flew over in a B-24 at 300 feet elevation. As he approached Nagasaki in the fields and whatnot near the farmers were shaking their fists at him because they could see the US insignia on the bomber. They were shaking their fists at him as he flew over for a reconnaissance.
So do you blame them?
Okay.
I shake my fist too.
Yeah. All right. Again, borebound destruction. If you're really close to the center of the bomb, you're going to get vaporized. If you're back a little bit further with some protection, you'll just get essentially cooked alive with a, 100,000 degree wave of heat coming over you. Horrific burns, and then of course, radiation. It's not only the heat, but gamma radiation. We might as well point that out. I'm gonna pull out my laser. This is a green laser, and this shows the electromagnetic. This shows the electromagnetic spectrum. The human eye can only see this little narrow visible spectrum, and we can see this represents the frequency of electromagnetic energy. And radio waves have a nice long low frequency cycle and won't harm anybody. Then there's microwaves, which, if you stick your head in the microwave oven, that could certainly hurt you. There's the visible range, and we move up, and generally the higher in frequency you go, the more dangerous rays become. Hence the high frequency gamma rays are the most dangerous. And of course, X-rays, if prolonged exposure, are going to do a lot of harm. And even good old sunshine, the ultraviolet rays will give you sunburn and skin cancer if you get enough of the UV. So there's the spectrum. And I point that out to just make us cognizant that there's a wide range of electromagnetic waves of different types. And onward. All right, so a nuclear weapon throws out a lot of gamma rays. Another thing that's going to happen, they estimate, a guy in 2014, Michael Mills, wrote a paper and did an analysis with some pretty good computer simulations. He said, let's assume there's a little nuclear war between India, and Pakistan.
A little one.
A little one, where they throw about 50 bombs at each other, okay? And the 15 kiloton, the Hiroshima size range. And he said it's going to put 5 million metric tons of black carbon, which are going to go into the atmosphere, and they're going to knock the ozone out 25%, give us the coldest average surface temperatures that we've seen in 1,000 years, reduce the growing seasons 10 to 40 days, most areas of the world, reduce surface temperatures, on and on. And there's some different estimates on this. Some of the worst estimates say even this little nuclear weapon exchange, 50 a piece of the little guys, could end up maybe killing 95% of humankind. There is some experimental evidence of what bad atmospheric pollution can do. You've heard of Krakatoa? That was around 1875-ish. There was another one around 1830. This is a book on the Tambora, which is also in that area around the Pacific. How a volcano plunged the world into crisis. So this is real data. They know pretty much how much volcanic ash went into the air, roughly 1815, with this Tambora thing. And there's books called The Year Without a Summer, where Europe had crop failures all over the place. So there is data. It's not, we've got a real experiment showing what massive amounts of soot and PM 500 particles up in the upper atmosphere can and will do. It's not speculative. This is real data from an experiment nobody wished ever got run by a volcano. Okay. Next one. Yeah, if you wanna go to sleep at night with bad dreams, you study this chart, which we were passing around. They think these are the top nuclear targets in the United States. Should the Ruskies or Chinese turn them all loose. And the Front Range doesn't look too good. They're gonna go for, we know they're gonna go for Cheyenne Mountain and Shriver Air Force Base. They're in the Springs. And of course, Warren Air Force Base up there in Cheyenne has an array of nuclear ICBM fields around it. They'll certainly try to take out as many of those as you can. But even if you're not on one of those direct strike spots, radiation is going to travel with the wind, and you can see there's not too many places to hide. Next one.
What was the one in northwest Colorado? What do they have? Is there-
It's probably that's ICBM field, even that one in Nebraska. They've got some missile silos. They're trying to take out the,
Yeah,
that's one of the best or worst, depending on your perspective. ICBM fields in the country is right up there in a 200-mile radius of Cheyenne. And then Montana, you can see up there. There was a massive nuclear missile field. And they, of course, were deliberately sited there. So somebody can't just sit off the coast and fire a missile from a sub and get to those missile fields quickly. All right.
There's nothing in Kansas.
Leonard, no, not Leonard.
Okay. Well, there is, yeah, Kansas City.
That's probably,
Yeah,
Fort Riley.
right. Next slide. So sweet dreams, everyone. Yeah, some nuclear effects. Back one.
Back one.
Next one. This one right here. In the US, 1,000 ground zeros are surrounded by 100 to 2-mile radius rings of fire. Now, when you set off a nuclear bomb, we've seen what happens with a doggone lightning strike in a forest in Northern California and starts a fire. Now, imagine setting off a nuclear blast with the heat of the sun.
Oh, dear.
If you think a lightning bolt's going to set off a big fire, think of the ring of fire you're going to get with a nuclear weapon. So it's going to cause these massive fires. Talk about containment. You can call the civil defense. We've got a 200-mile radius circle of fire here.
Yeah.
Do you have enough boys to send out to help it? Yeah, right. In America, the density of soot would reduce global temperatures by an estimated 40 degrees.
Wow.
So this soot cloud would reduce temperature 40 degrees, and not just for a day, but probably take 5-10 years to dissipate to any degree. And if you're a farmer, do your calculations. Even today, it's what, 70 degrees in Denver? What if it was 30?
Yeah.
You can see what it's going to do to cattle, farming, fruit trees, and just about any other food source. They estimate the breadbasket of wheat in the world, Ukraine, would not go above freezing for maybe 6 years. I don't even know if you could get winter wheat to survive and grow if it didn't get above freezing at all. Oil and natural gas supplies, coal seams, and peat bogs would burn for months on end, trying to get them put out.
Yeah.
And a lot of nuclear facilities become Chernobyls.
Okay.
Bad news.
You're scaring us, Ron.
Yeah, not good, not good.
Those cartoons.
So, all kinds of, hell on earth, all kinds of nuclear contaminants get dispersed around and spread by fallout. Death by radiation is gonna get most of us to survive. It's an excruciating way to die. It dissolves your organs, hemorrhaging, all this bad stuff. The sun rays become killer rays because, so go away, Ron, take your story somewhere else. Yeah.
The, about the bomb, Oppenheimer.
Was that what happened to, the guy that was exposed to the radiation? That he died from radiation poisoning? Is that, do you remember that part?
Yeah, that really happened, and yeah, he had a
Yeah,
horrible
right.
death. All right. Who's gonna survive? The insects. Okay. The insects will rule the world. Some say, well, we'd get a few survivors. Even the best estimates say, well, we'd only kill 5 billion of the Earth's 8 billion people. And you said you do have a better chance if you go for Australia, New Zealand, Argentina, and Paraguay. The radiation contamination is going to be a little less there, although they still got the temperature effects. Next one, let's move on. Okay, a nuclear weapon. This slide's called 26 minutes to hellfire. The boost phase about 5 minutes. It goes up high out of the atmosphere, deploys, and it comes in fast. You got something like 24, 26, 30 minutes to before.
To go high.
Yeah, to say your final prayers. Let's that sign in a bar. In case of nuclear war, keep calm, pay your bill, run like hell. Okay. All right, next one. Let's get into some of the Star Wars. There's a typical US nuclear warhead, what they call a MIRV, multiple independent reentry vehicles. And one of those goes up, peaks high above the Earth in space, and then splits out and fires those missiles to spread out and get different targets, usually fairly close together, within 100, 200 miles of each other. But that's a multiple warhead missile. You'll certainly find those on the US submarine fleet, and virtually all of our ICBMs, I believe, are MIRV. This is a picture of a Sprint missile. I know that has been around for a long time, and a Sprint missile is designed to get off the pad as fast as it can and go as quickly as it can to intercept a missile target. It pulls more than 50 Gs. And I know the engineers working on it said you got to work hard to make sure your missile components can stand that 50 G kick out. Next one. Okay, we've seen the electromagnetic spectrum. I mentioned all lasers typically are higher than microwave in terms of frequency. And of course, you've seen my red and green laser here. Make sure not to vaporize Steve here.
Yeah.
There we go, red and green
You
laser.
live with me if you vaporize. I'm not kidding.
Okay, next one. All right, let's get into the Star Wars. Many threats from many trajectories. We got to worry about ICBMs, sea-launched ballistic missiles, land attack cruise missiles, hypersonic weapons. Here's a picture. Russia has claimed they've got a low-flying hypersonic missile. It's like a cruise missile that would scoot through the atmosphere. And they do, they've developed it. Next one down. Okay, let's get into Star Wars here. Plethora of space weapons. Here's some of the things you can do in space. Put a radio frequency jammer to send a high pulse of frequency noise, electromagnetic signals, the jam, the electronic system of the drone or missile. That's one of the key defenses against a drone, by the way, is to try to aim your electromagnetic noise ray gun at it and mess up its targeting. Kinetic kill vehicles, that's what we will call bullets. And that Sprint missile, it's got to go to missile that's coming in at hypersonic speed, and come at it at a hypersonic speed and strike it. And it's pretty tough. Lasers, robotic mechanisms. That's where you sneak up on them with another satellite and reach out an arm and crunch them.
Grab it.
Chemical sprayers, you go out, it's I know in the work I did in some space vehicles, you got to worry about when you fire your little thrusters on your spaceship, whether some of the smoke and debris from the rocket exhaust comes back and lands on your mirrors or windows of your spacecraft. And of course, high power microwaves to jam. So those are some of the. There is talk about putting missile interceptors in space to defend us. In other words, put up a big canister of Estes bottle rockets. Well, they're a little bigger than that. And they have this giant canister of Estes bottle rockets up there in space, a whole bunch of them going around. And then when a missile's launched, you spot it and you fire a missile down from above. So the two common most methods to attack are probably a kinetic vehicle, in other words, a bullet, a missile, to try to knock it out with a direct hit, or to get it with a laser, or one of the other methods, which is to try to bombard it with a tremendous electromagnetic signal. So all those things are being considered now by the people who are putting in the bids. Go ahead, Oki.
Could any of those work against the drones that are going over the airports in Sweden and Denmark?
We'll look at, we can certainly use lasers and electromagnetic weapons. Yes. All of the above. The only question is you can base them on the ground or you can base them in space.
Yeah, I always associate I don't know, I can't think of the word for it, but I think it was Reagan, was president, when he was saying we were gonna have this kind of, shield.
SDI.
Shield that would prevent, a lot of that's in, how different is the thinking of our defense now? I mean, I don't know what the shield was supposed to do.
Okay, well, the shield was not a force field. Of all the Star Wars stuff you see, the photon torpedoes and phasers, that's laser-based, electromagnetic-based. On the defensive side, there's no reasonable way to put up a force field.
Okay.
Force fields mostly comic books. Okay, there's no good way of getting there at this point.
Are you gonna address later in your slides, what happens if you actually knock out a nuclear warhead when it's either within the atmosphere or above the atmosphere?
Yeah, yeah, I kind of wish now we'd split this into two presentations. Let's jump ahead. So lasers, space and ground based. You can try to get them from a laser based on the ground, a laser based in space, or fire off some higher energy X-ray pulses. So there's definitely lasers are a big part of the game. Next slide. A Golden Dome will require many satellites. If you're going to nail a missile launched and you want to get it in its boost phase, that first 5 minutes, you got to have an Estes rocket battery of things to fire that are pretty close to they can get that ground point. And so they figured you'd have to put up hundreds probably of missile canisters so that there was one coming over the Soviet missile sites about like a taxi coming every 3 minutes. That's a tough assignment. Next one. That shield would require a massive number of satellites with a satellite coming by every few minutes. The cost would be frankly astronomical. Next one. Particle beams. That's where you fire like a beam of electrons or neutrons. Particle beam weapons are talked about, but I don't think they're as cost effective and they're more difficult to do. Next one. The kinetic weapons. Again, the space-based interceptors. There was some shots out of Northrop Grumman and Booz Allen have both put on the websites some concepts for giant batteries of kinetic energy missiles to fire down at ICBMs.
And
Next
they're
one.
publishing this for general,
Yeah.
okay.
And then there's the electromagnetic pulse. And this really worries us all because if somebody takes a big nuclear weapon, explodes it very, very high in the atmosphere. It sends out an electronic pulse that is so strong, it's gonna knock out your microwave oven, maybe your appliances at your house, your communication lines.
Cell phone?
Worst of all, it's gonna take out your TV. But seriously, this would be a really bad one. This could semi-destroy the economy and even destroy a lot of people's lives. All your freezer, your refrigerator, even the ones up at King Soopers are suddenly gone.
So this one is, what it does is it takes out then all GPS systems. Okay, so immediately, nobody would know where they are in the world. And then the next thing that happens with this is that we only have 3 days food supply that's being transported at any point in time. So within a week to 2 weeks, then we would have immediate famine across all of North America. Is that okay? So it's all communications. Just think virtually you have no communications anymore because it's taken out every single microwave tower, every single tower that you.
Does it knock out all the power plants?
All the communications to the power plant, so there's no, you had an intelligent grid that's no, and it's now.
System.
So you may or may not be able to contribute to it.
Okay, so no.
If you have no-
So even if you have a couple months supply of food, you gotta have enough natural gas or common stove to cook it.
Right, so the only
Not-
that's left from a communication standpoint is anything that's sort of.
Yeah, okay.
So.
Okay, let's roll through a couple of the pictures to wrap up here, and get more discussion going. Here's some pictures of some actual systems they've got. The Navy has got, and the Army have got some ground-based laser systems that are working. Next one. Here's a sea-based laser. They work, they don't have many of them, they're working on them, but it's very, very feasible. Next one. Here's some work they've been doing for the last 30 years, really, on laser-based systems for aircraft. And those work. Next one. All righty, and of course, you gotta have laser beams from comic books. Green Lantern needed his electromagnetic beam coming out of his power ring. And of course, Superman had his X-ray vision and heat ray vision and all the other stuff.
Going back to the last slide or two back now, are any of these based out of the Colorado Springs allied facilities?
There are military capabilities in many places and domains. And that a lot of that information is kept very quiet. Okay.
Sure.
I can confidently say this, there's more stuff in more places than most people know about. Okay,
That's very comforting.
that's it. Right. All right. Does anybody this last slide, does anybody remember hiding under the desk or going out to the hallway? And they had a great civil defense cartoon with Bert the Turtle telling people, see the flash, duck, and yeah. Okay, let's open it up. Thoughts and ideas. Let's go over here and then jump back here.
So I'm just wondering, what percentage I think of the people who work on these are female?
Are
Female?
a lot of them,
Really?
yeah.
Because everybody-
I can speak having worked in the aerospace industry. If you look at the pictures of the man on the moon control room and at the launch of Apollo 11, there's one female, maybe two.
Yeah.
The industry, and having watched the male domain change, the answer is in the last 2 decades, females have come into the workforce substantially. There are also now a substantial number of women who have become CEOs and high directors in most of the major aerospace companies. So the percentage is, it's still tilted male, but it's changed dramatically. It really has. I know when I jumped to from Lockheed Martin to Raytheon, I was very pleased to see Raytheon even had a LGBTQ club. Where accepting, you think, oh, the conservative male aerospace industry won't accept, but Raytheon actually had a club for their employees who were gay, lesbian to help them.
Much more likely to think out of the box.
Well, there's a bonus.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Because they've had to do that.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I've got to throw this one out. I've worked for both male and female bosses. Generally, I found the female, there's exceptions, but generally the female bosses tended to be more personable, understanding, people oriented on the average.
Did they get
But-
more with you?
Yeah, yeah.
You feel like you gave them your bedroom.
Yeah, I've always been an independent minded kind of person. Didn't like a drill sergeant telling me what to do. So the industry has changed a great deal and there are now, there's more human factors and bosses that can get along with the people, particularly the younger generation that's come up. They don't like, drill sergeants being their bosses. So.
Okay.
Question about, where you can shoot a nuke up in the air and it becomes, it spreads out and becomes multiple nukes.
Yeah.
If that can be done off, my understanding is ballistic submarines have 24 missile silos, so I was starting to do the math, 24 weapons fired up.
Mhm.
And then multiple, 3 or 4, however many,
Mhm.
can be produced from that one, and each one of those is many times as powerful as what we dropped on Hiroshima and
Mhm.
Nagasaki. Is it really worth it to have a golden globe type of thing? I mean, Russia up there has over 5,000 nukes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
There's a lot of people right now that have. Well, here was an article. Trump's Iron Dome space weapons plan ignores physics and fiscal reality. So there is serious concern that we can't really put up my personal opinion, and strictly this, is that we can put up some stuff to give us limited capability to get a few rogue missiles. But right now, from what I know, it would be incredibly difficult to try to make that capability. Anything close to 100%.
So my comment is exactly yours, is that the financial cost of doing this would totally bankrupt the whole United States. And that whole thing's so right going around.
Yeah. So the question is not whether we do it, it's
Can they afford?
what degree of a system? Does it maybe make sense to build a system that can cover one or two areas or one or two key defense sites?
So,
Yeah. Whether it's trying to do the whole gamut.
I have seen on the internet several times that a woman did all the calculations for the moonshot.
yes.
And so they've been very powerful, but one woman.
She gets credit for having the final going through actually with a calculator before they had and some early computers. I wouldn't say she had the whole thing, but one of the astronauts did feel most comfortable before launch deferring to her and say, do your calculations show it? Because he had confidence that her numbers were right up there. I wouldn't say she was 100%, the entire NASA was relying on her, but she certainly played an incredibly important role, yeah.
I graduated from CU in 1960, and I remember walking by the Flatiron Theater on the hill. And on the marquee was "On the Beach." On the beach had Gregory Peck and and other people, and also had Fred Astaire, the dancer, everybody remembers. And he played the part of the scientist. He played the part of the scientist. And he had, in my opinion, what is the definitive role of line in the whole movie and probably in the whole discussion. He is asked, they're all in Melbourne or in Australia. And they're said, who won the war? They're down there, they didn't even know who won the war. And Fred Astaire, being the scientist, said, well, we did. But we didn't do such a bad job on ourselves either. And I think that is the definitive statement about this whole subject and this whole discussion, that this is a form of insanity. And I think it needs to be said every time we start talking about this. This whole thing is crazy as hell.
Somebody said nobody ever won a war.
Well, you're gonna lose this one.
Remember that line?
We'll all lose,
The
yeah,
movie?
we'll all be
The only
losers.
winning move is not to play.
That's 65 years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Known what's going on, what's gonna happen from On the Beach from 1960.
this is the Doctor Strange Love. It's kind of a comedy, not so comedy book. At the end, there's a guy riding a saddle on a nuclear bomb, screaming and singing as that he goes down as a kamikaze passenger on an H-bomb. So it's quite the movie, yeah. And then, of course, there's the Warning movie, where an alien comes from another civilization, lands on Earth, and warns us that we're gonna self-destruct if we don't change our ways. That's a good movie. The Day the Earth Stood Still. This was a sci-fi movie that came out 55 or something, early 50s. Right.
We're about out of time, but Linda, go ahead.
Does anybody have one of those golden domes?
Does anybody have a golden?
Jerusalem has a rocket
No.
dome, an iron dome.
Iron Dome.
Yeah, but remember, their dome is to try to knock down any incoming ballistic missiles. And they only have to defend an area that's quite confined. And even then, some missiles have slipped through that. It's not been 100%.
But it's pretty effective, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, it's nailed more than 90%, I think, of the stuff thrown at it. But it's also been assisted, I think they've had some US destroyers sit off the coast and help them out when Iran fired its phenomenal volley at them. So I think we need to do research. We maybe need to deploy something, but we're kidding ourselves if we think we can put up yeah.
But it sounds wonderful. Okay, last one, Vicky.
There is a series called The Dome. I don't know if anybody has watched it. It's either on Netflix or Prime. And it is an invisible dome that they have created over this city. And I haven't watched the whole series, so I don't know what their intention of it was, but it's pretty dangerous to be inside of it and not be able to get out of it, as it is to be in it and be protected from what's outside.
Yeah.
So, but it's called The Dome, and I'm sure it's on Prime.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The scientists will tell you right now that the Starship Enterprise energy shields are far in the future. We don't know how to do it. There's no real way to put up there's a couple crude concepts, but energy shields are far in the future.
Remember during World War II, because we were in Coronado Island.
Oh.
Well, my dad was in the Navy Air, but they covered the area with like burlap. And because drove up to the top of a hill and looked down on this thing. And it was like desert and it had a few little buildings out, you know, but it covered the whole area with something like burlap.
Camouflage nets and stuff, yeah.
Oh, the camouflage, yeah, yeah. We've gotta go, we're out of time. Yes, we do. We gotta get to the state of the church meeting. Ron, thank you for a good discussion. Good. Bye-bye. See you next week.
What is next one?